Good afternoon. This is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel. So I continue on my part series, the professional sports teams that didn't win a championship during that season. This is part 28, and now I'm going to make the transition from the NBA teams that I talked about, the first 27 parts. Now this is part 28. Moving forward, I'm going to be talking about the Major League Baseball teams that I saw in my lifetime that I felt that should have won a championship but didn't. We're going to start with the 1988 New York Mets. I grew up a Met fan, and my favorite player at the time was Darryl Strawberry. I liked his swing, the long home runs that he brought to the table. He was just a fun player to watch. Fortunately, he didn't make it to the Hall of Fame due to his off-the-field issues and stuff like that. But he's one of my favorite player at that time, and I followed him everywhere he went. Whether he was a Dodger, Yankee, I followed him everywhere he went to root for the teams that he was on. That's how much I loved Darryl Strawberry and how much he meant to me as a baseball fan at that time in the 80s. Now, he was part of the 1988 New York Mets, a team that won 100 games, lost only 60. They finished first in the National League East. They were managed by Davey Johnson. And they ended up playing the Dodgers in the NLCS, where they unfortunately, lost in 7 games to the eventual World Series champs, the LA Dodgers. And they ran into also a pitcher that was on his game in 1988, and Orel Hershiser. Orel Hershiser won the Cy Young Award. He won World Series MVP. He was the National League Championship Series MVP in '88. He was just on his game. That was his most successful season. That's what, and also other things that took place that led to the Mets not winning in '88 in that series. It wasn't just him, but he was part of it because he had a major league record of pitching 59 consecutive innings without allowing a run. And he was just on point, man. He was just a great pitcher during those playoffs. But there are other factors of why the Mets lost in that series. Actually, let me check. I want to see what was the record, because the series started actually in LA. LA had the home field advantage, which is strange to me. The Mets were heavy favorites. That's why I wanted to talk about the '88 Mets, because they were the heavy, favorites going into the series, because they had beaten the Dodgers 10 out of 11 times in the regular season, outscoring them 49-18. Now, the Dodgers won their fourth and what turned out to be their final National League West title of the '80s. They posted a 94-67 record during the regular season, beating out the Cincinnati Reds by 7 games. Now, the Mets, on the other hand, had the best record in the National League in 1988. 100 wins, only 60 losses. It was 160. Easily won the National League crown in the East by 15 games over the Pittsburgh Pirates. But the thing that's strange to me, that's a head scratcher, is that how can the Mets be on the road and not have the home field advantage at that time? They had a much better record than the Dodgers. Anyway, the two teams split the first 2 games at Dodger Stadium, and then after that, it was 3 games at Shea Stadium in New York. The Mets took Game 3 before the Dodgers pulled out close wins in both Game 4, 5-4 in 12 innings, and Game 5, 7-4. Kirk Gibson was a big part of this team. Hit home runs in both games, including the game-winning home run in the 12th inning of Game 4. The NLCS then went back to LA, where the Mets took the 6 games, 5-1, and then they went on to shut out the Dodgers went out to shut out the Mets. They shut out the Mets 6-0 in the deciding 7th game, and sent LA to the World Series for the first time at that time since 1981. Orel Hershiser was the MVP. Rightfully so. He made 4 outstanding appearances in the series, garnered the save in Game 4, pitched the shutout in Game 7. But I think the moment that stood out to me was Game 4, I believe. Mike Scioscia hit the home run off of Dwight Gooden. Let me check it, make sure. I think it was Game 4, Game 5. Mike Scioscia. I think it was Game 5. Trying to look for it. Bear with me. I want to be accurate, obviously, when I'm doing these kind of videos. Yeah, this is it. Game 4. This went to 12 innings. The Dodgers won 5-4. Dwight Gooden started the game. Now, the Mets had a 4-2 lead going into the 9th inning. Gooden cruising, doing his thing. The Mets looked to be a lock to take a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. That's how big this home run was by Mike Scioscia. So, since the first inning, Gooden was pitching great. He had allowed only 1 hit, only 4 base runners, but for a reason, Doc Gooden walked John Shelby to lead off the 9th after having a 2-strike count. So Mike Scioscia, who was the catcher at the time, hit a 2-run home run in right field to the Mets bullpen to tie the game. Then, in the 12th inning, Kirk Gibson hit a 2-out home run off of Roger McDowell to get the lead for the Dodgers. So, with 2 runners on base and 1 out in the bottom half of that 12th inning, the lefty Jesse Orosco came in to pitch to Hernandez and Strawberry, both left-handed hitters. Orosco worked to a 1-2 count on Hernandez, then threw 3 straight balls to walk the bases loaded. So Orosco threw another ball on his first pitch to Darryl Strawberry. Orosco eventually got Strawberry to pop out to the infield. Next hitter was Kevin McReynolds, and Lasorda came out to the mound and put Hershiser in, even though he had pitched 7 innings the previous day, with Jay Howell being suspended and Tim Belcher the starter for the next game, resting in his hotel room. Hershiser was the only pitcher left in the bullpen. So on his third pitch, he got McReynolds to fly out the shallow center, and Shelby raced in for the game-ending catch. And the series was tied 2-2. That was the turning point of the series, because if the Mets win that game, they go up 3-1, winning that series eventually. But Scioscia hitting that home run to tie it at 4-4 was the turning point, not only for that series, but for that franchise. Because they were never the same after that. 89 they didn't go to the playoffs. They didn't go to the playoffs in 90. So they went through this drought, not playing in the playoffs, actually. So they ain't making it in 89 or 90 or throughout the 90s, for that matter. I got to double check. Maybe to 99, maybe. 1999 they made it to the playoffs, but the Mets were going through a tough time once that home run was hit by Mike Scioscia. So that Met team was really good. Darryl Strawberry was the man. He could have won league MVP in the National League. Let me look at his stats. Player stats. Let's look at it. Darryl Strawberry hit 39 home runs, drove in 101 RBIs, 269 batting average, had 146 hits. Also had Kevin McReynolds. He had 27 home runs, 99 RBIs, and hit 288. This team was good, man. They were really, really good. Doc Gooden had a solid season, but David Cone had the best season. David Cone was 20-3 with a 2.22 ERA. So that was a tough time for the Mets, because they had won a couple of years earlier, in 1986, and they fell short, and they wasn't able to get back to that. They haven't won a championship since '86. New York Mets, but that was the best of times. I remember that Darryl Strawberry was the man. He was such a great player at that time. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get to the Hall of Fame due to the off the field issues. He didn't do enough. Basically, let me look at his stats real quick. I don't think he would qualify for the Hall of Fame anyway, regardless of what was going on off the field. But he was a great slugger, man. Darryl Strawberry did his thing. He was compared to Ted Williams because of his looping swing. Okay, his batting average is 259. That's not good. He hit 335 home runs. That's not good enough. He drove in 1,000 runs. Not good enough. 8-time All-Star, yes. He won 4 championships. Obviously, 3 of them with the Yankees. Rookie of the Year, 2-time Slugger, Silver Slugger Award. He led the league in home runs in 1988. He's in the Hall of Fame as far as the Mets are concerned, but not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Rightfully so. That's pedestrian numbers to just hit 335 home runs and have a 259 batting average, 1,000 runs batted in. That's not good enough. So that's it, man. That was great times for the Mets. They fell short. So that concludes part 28 of the professional sports teams that didn't win the championship during that season. The 1988 New York Mets. Like I said, I'm going to be covering teams, talking about teams from the Major League Baseball perspective, teams that I saw in my lifetime. That's why I started in the 80s, because that's when I really started watching baseball was in the mid to late 80s and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to talk about the teams in the 70s and 60s. I got to talk about teams that I saw with my own eyes and break down what happened at that time with the teams that I saw. So that concludes part 28 of the professional sports teams that didn't win the championship during that season. The 1988 New York Mets. Please subscribe to the channel, like, comment. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.